Hello, everybody, and welcome to Curtain Call, a weekly conversation with powerful women in the arts. My name is Leah Granger. Curtain Call is presented by FabCollab, and I'm talking to you now here from Toronto. Today on the program, we have a very special guest, someone that's very close to our hearts and who we've worked with a lot. She is a violinist, a singer, a multi-instrumentalist. What can't she do? Her name is Jessica Hana Deutsch, and we are gonna have her join us. But with Jess, this is gonna be like a catching up with an old friend. So I'm very, very excited. Should pop on any second. Hello, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
I can't believe we haven't had you sooner. So, for people that are watching, Jessica, I've known Jessica for a long time, just from being part of the Toronto world music scene, and also you've come and played violin on some of my flamenco projects. You were part of the house band for Ventanas, which is of course a band in its own right, but also is the house band for a lot of Fab Club's programming. And then you have a million projects on your own. You're a very busy and demand lady, so we're very lucky to have you here finally. Thank you so much for coming. So I mean, we know you mostly as performing the world music, but I know that you started your training. You started in classical
Yeah.
music, like your background is in that. So maybe can you just tell us like a little bit about how you first found your way to this instrument?
Yeah, I mean, it was too early to even remember. First of all, thank you for that introduction. It's so nice to see you. For everyone watching, I'm like just getting over COVID, so thank you for like coming today because we had to postpone so many times, but my voice is almost back. Um,
I'm
so
glad you're
yeah,
doing better.
yeah, I'm better today, finally. Um, Yeah, so um my whole family played classical music, like my grandparents, my parents, and I have three older siblings. Um so they were all already playing in the house, and I just would like pick up instruments and try and play them, and like played piano, and I played a violin upside down, so it was like a cello. And
Crazy.
yeah, and so like I think when I was 4, I started violin lessons, which is it was like the tiniest little violin.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and then I just had like yeah, I just had violin lessons and until I was like 17, and I was like part of orchestras and did competitions, and it was like
How
pretty.
did you feel about it, like as a young person, like as a kid and as a teenager, were you like immediately enraptured with it, or was it like something you were forced to do, or what was it?
I think my siblings were forced. And I think I was forced if I didn't love it, but I really loved it. And I would like I still have my practice schedules from like high school. I would like wake up at like 7 and do scales before school, and like yeah, I think I loved it. um
That's awesome. That's so like, yeah, I wish my parents had like forced me into like the thing that I would end up loving. They did actually. My mom actually like really pushed me because I was like 6'2" when I was maybe like 14 or 15. And my mom was like, ugh, like, what are we gonna do about this? So she pushed me into basketball like so hard, and I really didn't want to do it. And then I was like exactly this, like obsessed. And, like,
right.
but that's really amazing that you found something
I
like
think
this. Like,
it's like amazing luck because
mhm.
I mean I really love music, and it's the thing I want to do, and like maybe if I had been pushed into sports I would feel the same, but I definitely feel like
Mm,
it was just like the surroundings were so perfect to
yeah, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah.
So then what happened like after high school?
So yeah, so I decided not to go into music in university because I think I just needed a break. I think like as much as I loved it, it was like I would do competitions and I just felt a lot of high pressure and I just felt really torn. So when I went to UBC, I did First Nation studies. So I was like,
Why did you choose that?
I think like, well, I was raised in a very like lefty political home. Um,
Same.
yeah, cool. Yeah, and like I think I was just drawn to that. I think growing up Jewish, you talk about genocide at home all the time. It's very casual in conversation. And so yeah, I guess I felt drawn to it because of my political activism, but also because like in class, people talked in a very genuine way. People talked about their own life experience. Um, and I felt like in university, I didn't really like how academia would like, um, it was just very cold, I guess, and very like
Mhm.
objective. You would talk about things, but they didn't relate to you personally. So in my other classes, I kind of felt like, why is everyone talking like in a certain way? I feel like everyone's just like divorced from the material. And yeah, so I
Yeah,
loved,
like we're not human beings, kind of in some
yeah,
of it. Yeah,
yeah.
for
In
sure.
studies, it's like people have experienced all these things and they're so you're learning about it by like personal experience. And I think that draws into music as well. Like I love learning world music because it's like people's personal history, personal experience, and they're just teaching you from what they know. Like it's not like, I learned something
Hmm.
that's apart from me. So yeah, maybe that ties together.
Yeah, like when you finished school, was that something that like did you ever like, I mean, I'm sure like a degree like that is something that you kind of use like everywhere in your life, like particularly, as a Canadian, but like has it been something that you've like carried with you?
Definitely. I feel like yeah, it's more like in conversations. And like right when I finished, there was the residential school apology. So it seemed like more of the population, like the general population was aware. Uh,
Mhm.
things like right after I finished university, but while I was in it, like no one was really talking about anything. Um,
Yeah. What year did you finish?
2008, I think.
It's
Yeah.
so interesting. So I was also there, and I also took some courses in that department out at the Museum of Anthropology.
Oh my
I was like,
God.
did you ever take anything in that building? Like in the museum? They had like classrooms in the museum, which was so amazing. But I was studying more like art and that
That's
kind of thing. Um, but yeah, like I went to an elementary school that was really alternative in BC. And so we like learned a lot about the residential schools and just about Indigenous culture. So I kind of like took that to be general knowledge. So it was very
right.
interesting when like yeah, when that stuff was happening and that it was like shocking to like surprising to people. I mean, it's always shocking, but like that people didn't know. I was like, oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
I Yeah, no, it was, and it was like this big awakening in Canada, and I feel
Mhm.
led people to like really do their own research, which is super cool. Um, so yeah, like I do have conversations with people just because I know specific things, I guess, and like yeah, people ask me questions, and maybe sometimes it's more comfortable to ask a white person if you're white, like you're like, oh my God, I'm so ignorant. But I do feel very strongly like to, go to the source and do your research.
Mhm.
There's so much out there. There's so much information, like it's buckets and buckets of information. So yeah, I
So
do.
like during that, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I also, yeah, I feel like now I'm getting back into it because Fab Collab is like, I'm working with you guys and you're doing an Indigenous Girls with Gear and like, that's super cool. So through you guys, I'm kind
That's been really fun. The team's really cool. That's like still to come. But yeah, we're working on this project that's sort of electroacoustic, electro
of,
Indigenous women artists, like a sort of big sort of party event. It's gonna be
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
More on that soon. But yeah, yeah, that's great that all the stuff is happening with Fab Collab.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
about like while you were in school, were you playing? And like,
Yeah,
what was
yeah.
happening at that time?
Like I was taking some music courses and I was in the UBC Symphony. Um,
Mm.
and I think I was in like an ensemble with like we were playing Brahms and yeah, Brahms quintet. So I was like doing classical music, but I just like I was doing it and dipping my toes in it, but I was like I don't want to major in this or get too
Mhm.
into this. It doesn't feel right. And then I went to like a Celtic jam at a pub at the Wolf and Hound, which was at Alma and Broadway in Vancouver.
I know it. My mom lives a block away. She goes
I
to those jams. Maybe she was there.
I don't know if it's happening anymore, but it was like,
I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
at the time it was amazing. It was like there'd be like 20 people there and everyone's having a Guinness and like playing along. And it was basically the first time I like started playing by ear. And I was like, oh, it
Oh,
was,
really?
yeah.
Oh,
So
interesting.
it was like Celtic music in a session and no pressure, like nobody can hear you. It's just like a big sound from the group. So
Mhm.
it was a really great way to get into playing by ear and like drinking while playing. That's not something classical music do.
That's not a thing? That's not like huge?
I'm trying to whenever I play
So yeah.
classical gigs. Yes.
And had you like was that like your first exposure to like were you playing? Because now you're kind of playing like everything. Were other global influences like a part of your vocabulary yet, or is that kind of been
Well,
more recent?
it was funny because then I realized I was like, oh, like I've grown up with like klezmer, like Jewish music. Like I just never was like, oh, I can also play that. I would just hear it. And then
Right.
I also was like, oh, and like, like I used to listen to rock bands and I never thought, oh, I can play that as well. It just was like, um, yeah, it was like opening my mind because I just thought I play classical music and then I listen to other stuff and I don't understand it. So yeah, then I started playing in like world music bands in Vancouver and that was like 2 years of that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
Oh,
then
that's interesting. I didn't know that you started doing that out there. That's neat.
yeah, but I was still kind
And
of
like,
I still was like not like I'm gonna be a full-time musician.
mhm.
Yeah.
But like, so what was it like, sort of like delving like into these other genres? Like, as somebody with classical training, like, is it pretty easy? Or is it like, I know, because I'm like, oh, the time signatures are so complicated, like, da 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 da, whatever. But then also, like, anytime it's like anyone that sort of has the training, it's like you can kind of like dip in and out, it seems like. You tell me.
That's a really, really good question. Actually, I'm surprised no one's asked that before. Um, it's easy in some ways because you have the chops. So you can like you can play with your fingers and your bow or whatever instrument you have, you can play well with classical training. But uh, there are things that are not in classical training, like groove. Like
Mm-hmm.
playing groove or playing in time with like listening to a drum kit or like playing, yeah, like in classical music there's a lot of like breathing. So there's like if you're in a string quartet you're playing together but you're not necessarily like landing on one. You're like
Yeah.
duh, right? And in groove music it's like duh, like you have to be there at one. um so
Yeah,
it's
that's
actually,
so interesting.
yeah, so sometimes you hear classical musicians playing stuff and that's what's missing is the groove feel. And also you don't learn to play by ear. So
Mm-hmm.
there's subtle things that you need to pick up by ear if you want to learn like Arabic music, for instance, the quarter tones, the ornaments, the like just all the subtleties in the music. It's not going to be notated for you. So you really want to like pay attention to all the many elements of the music if you want to like
Yeah.
sound legit. Yeah. So that
And do
was
you feel like those things kind of like apply like because it's sort of like, oh, there's classical music and then there's world music. But then like within world music, there's obviously like completely like there's a huge variety. And it's like, do you see similarities between like the different global music um, styles that you play? Like, are they kind of like more similar? Is like, can you be like world music, pop, classical? Do you know what I mean?
Also a very good question. Very
I'm
thought-provoking.
full of good questions.
Great. This is great. Thinking about these things. Um, I feel like yes and no. Yes, in the that it's a lot of the music is um like passed down by ear. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but and yes, in that there's a lot of like kind of common threads or like origins for things like there's like Roma music that spreads out into like Eastern
Right.
European different folk musics, and then there's like different origins for things. And flamenco is right. Flamenco comes
Mm-hmm.
from the
Yeah.
root as like klezmer. I mean, Judith Cohen's watching. I don't want to say anything wrong, but uh,
You can weigh in with corrections.
yeah, just type it in. Um, yeah, I'll get to that tomorrow. Uh, but but also classical music takes from folk music very much as
Mm-hmm.
well. So I wouldn't put like a hard line between genres.
Right.
It sometimes sounds so different, or they're from different uh like from such different approaches, but I wouldn't put a hard line between it. And like I don't think that it was always there either, like between classical and like there used to be improvisation in Baroque music. Um
Okay.
yeah, there's just so many like yeah. So I actually feel like the world category is just kind of lazy. Like it's
Yeah.
but then there would be so many subcategories in music that yeah, I don't know. Thanks, Judith. It's a hard thing to explain, I guess, or conclude.
Judith on board. Oh yeah. Tamara wants to know what you mean to play by ear.
Yeah, basically you're not reading music. So you're learning like someone plays something or you're listening to a recording and you learn that way rather than looking at music notation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what happened when you came back to Toronto? Were you like, this is like, I'm gonna be a musician. This is my life. Or were you still kind of like, maybe I'm something else? Who knows? Because that would that have been around 2008 or later?
Yeah, I came back. I was definitely torn. Like um I was like actually worked for an immigration and refugee lawyer who was
Oh,
working on the security certificate cases. So this was like the 9/11 yeah, that must have been 2010. So this was like after 9/11, these like five Muslim men were
mhm.
detained under this um new I don't know, security certificate. Like they didn't have to be treated the same way as like a regular. So if you're treated as a terrorist, you're treated differently than a regular criminal trial. So I was working for the lawyer who was their lawyer, these five men, or I think three of them. So there was like all this, yeah, it was actually a really crazy job. Like just
That sounds
realizing,
really crazy. Sounds really interesting.
yeah, like looking
What were
at,
you doing?
I was kind of looking at like what CSIS, so Canada's like CIA, what CSIS had on these men. It's like, and I'm not a lawyer.
How do you even do that? How do you like, isn't that private? Isn't that classified?
So they had
You're
classified,
fine. Just
yeah,
kidding.
I, I missed by all along.
I really like, yeah, CSIS is interesting. Wow. So like, how did you get that job? Like, where, how did that come about?
I knew the lawyer because she was my high school friend's mom.
Mhm.
So I like applied to do like, yeah, it was basically like note taking and like it was, yeah, there's like I was working with articling lawyers, but I was
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
doing like research and stuff. So I was like, I guess I was like a junior researcher. But it was like cool. I'm really glad I did that. And like I understand how
I
screwed
think you
up.
have worked on that case. It sounds like very lucky to have just like popped into that spot. Because yeah, I know a lot of like young lawyers articling and stuff, and like it's not always that interesting.
Yeah. It was so
Wow.
yeah, it was so eye-opening um about our justice system. And that was yeah, it was basically like for Canada to be like, you know, we're doing something about terrorism, like look at us. And it was I don't know how much I should say, but it was so obvious that there was like these were just made up.
Yeah.
Um
Especially at that time. Yeah. And under that government.
yeah. But yeah, music. So I was torn between that and music. And then I think I was just like playing in bands. I was like, it's scary. It's scary to take the plunge and be like, I'm going to do music full time.
Mhm.
But I eventually kind of had enough stuff going on. And I was in Lemon Bucket, and Lemon Bucket was playing like all the time. Yeah, so I just did it. I just was like, all right, I'll do music full time and see how it goes. And like, I've never looked back.
Yeah, that must have been like a crazy way to sort of kick off your career as a musician in Toronto with Lemon Bucket. Because that kind of started, it was just like a band, and then it just sort of exploded, no?
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, we would do like these crazy like I just like stayed up till 6 a.m. all the time. Like we would just go and play on the street and like close down the street and have these crazy parties, and it was super fun. It was like yeah, and like playing all that music and getting to learn all that
And
music.
you toured a lot too.
Hmm?
It looked really fun. I mean, I'm sure I know that there's always like the ups and the downs of those kind of wild, like really intense experiences, but it did look pretty fun.
It was
Some of
super
the
fun.
shows, like your tour in Eastern Europe, looked pretty crazy.
Oh, I didn't go on that. That's like
Oh,
when
you
I
didn't?
yeah. Yeah. I think I had to quit because it was too crazy.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
But you also joined Ventanas around that time, I think.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you were in any other like sort of bands and projects at that time. But it definitely seemed like you were sort of everywhere at once, like starting in
Yeah.
the what are they called? The teens?
Yeah. Yeah. The early teens. Yeah.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Started I started my band Ozera around that time.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about your own that you started your own project.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, I went to Humber for a year. It's like I wanted to learn a bit about jazz, and then I was juggling that and Lemon Bucket, and then I started writing my
Mhm.
music. So I think that's why I quit. I was like, oh my God, I can't do all these things.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I was writing, and then I put this band together in 2012, I think. And yeah, that was
And
Ozera.
what kind of band was it? Like, what was your music?
So violin, mandolin, cello, and bass. And it was like kind of drawing from classical music, but like very folky, um, kind of like Celtic-y, bluegrassy, like that kind of stuff, which I wasn't really playing with anyone else.
Mhm.
But very like composed, and like everyone was reading music, and yeah.
What did it feel like going? Because like I sometimes, I mean, I think about it just like working with Fab Collab and working with. It's just that so like the musicians are like seen as supporting like other people, kind of like dancers or singers or whatever. And like, so what was it like to be sort of like taking the driver's seat on a project? To be like, I'm in charge, like I'm not supporting anyone. It's like my thing. Like it must, yeah.
It was yeah, no, I I think it was really a huge learning experience. Like I just telling people what to do, and like also what I wanted to hear, like playing my music, right? So it was like I
Mhm.
already in my head how it should go, but also having the flexibility to like have the people playing it make it their own as well, and have input. but I loved it. Like, I think it just felt so good because it always sounded so good. Like, everybody that I worked with was such an amazing player, and kind of changed it in ways that I was like, oh, cool. Like, you're changing my music and making it better. Um, so yeah, like that was amazing. And we did 3 records, and it kind of just took a trajectory that I didn't plan on, or like there started being vocals, and then I started
Mm-hmm.
lead vocals, um, because I just was like, okay, there's like 3 songs or something that are vocal tunes. I'll just sing them. Like, I'm not a singer, sing them, and
Or
then
you
I,
didn't think of yourself as a singer then.
yeah, now I'm like a
Well,
singer.
now you're a bit of a singer.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so
Funny how that happens.
yeah.
That's so cool. And so, are you still working on that project, or have you moved, or is that still having a trajectory, or where is that at now?
That was like this 3rd CD release was my last show right before COVID, like
Right. Okay.
March 8th, 2020.
No way. Then it's serendipitous we kept postponing this. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention as we were talking about your education is that it's Indigenous Women's Day today.
Cool. Oh my God.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Aw,
So we're celebrating.
that's awesome.
So yeah, so that must have been
So that,
tricky,
yeah, that was,
the pandemic and all.
well, it was funny because it was like the last show, and like it was like packed at the Burdock. Everyone was hugging. We all went for like food after, eating each other's food. And then like a couple days
Yeah,
later,
March 8th. March
yeah,
8th. Wow.
we didn't know what was coming. But
Yeah.
is for me that was like the last show of the band. Like, I was like, all right, I'm kind of gonna move on to like more, yeah, like we're hushes now, which I can talk about, but like
Mhm.
I kind of wanted to write different type of music with different people. Yeah. So
Okay, so that was like it happened at that time, but also like you were ready to. So then the pandemic happens, and then this new project sort of comes out of that. Like how much of Hush was already in the works, or did it totally just kind of happen? I guess
um
we should also talk about your partner,
yeah.
who's like part of the band. Did you, because I don't actually know, like when did you guys, you and Tyler Edmond, who's well, you can tell us about him as a musician. You know more than, you're more involved. Introduce him.
So yeah, Tyler Amon is my partner, and also, yeah, he's a bassist, he's a guitarist, he's a producer, um, extremely talented guy, otherwise I wouldn't be with him. um, no,
That's a prerequisite. Must be amazing
yeah,
musician.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and we've known each other for like as long as I've been a musician in Toronto. So we were good friends for like 8 years before dating. And
Okay.
he never was in Ozera, but he would like sub into Ozera, and I played in his band, and like yeah, we worked together a lot. But like basically right when we started dating, we started writing music together. So like,
Was it before the pandemic?
yeah. So like we started
Okay.
dating in July 2019.
Also, like right before the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And then September 2019, we just started. I remember like the first song we wrote was, which is on Hush's first album. Um,
Amazing.
yeah. But like that was super casual. And then like when the pandemic hit, we're like, okay, let's record that song. And it's called Land Waves. And that was like our first single. And it's totally different from anything I've ever done. Like, I'm singing, and it's like kind of indie pop, like electronic, experimental music. Um,
You're playing bass too in some of it, no? At least you were at the CD release.
Live, I'm playing like bass and synths and some guitar, and I like
I
all.
loved it. I loved it when you put on the guitar. I was like, this is new, at least to me.
Oh man, I love playing bass. It's like,
So cool. It
yeah,
looks fun.
fun. so different from violin, like such a different function in a band.
Yeah.
Like you really like it's like nobody notices bass, but if you play a wrong note, everybody notices the bass.
Which is so unfair that anything should be like that, where like you only get noticed when you make a mistake. It's like do it perfectly and like nobody will thank you. Make a mistake and everyone will be like, boo. It's
High
like,
praise.
yeah, a thankless instrument, but like, yeah, it's like so valuable. But when you talk to musicians, it's like they value it
Yeah,
because they know.
yeah. I
They
love,
know, yeah.
but I love it because violin, you're always like front and center. You're like playing melodies. You play,
Hmm.
take a break while someone else solos. Like it's just like the sparkle instrument, and then the bass is like you need it there, and you need it to be playing the whole time, and like it's kind of hold. It's like the glue that holds the band together. You know, it's like drums plus notes.
Yeah.
And it feels so much like strength playing it. Like it's funny, it's women's day to day talking about being a female. There's like not many female bassists out there, and I don't know. Part of that is like why I wanted to learn. Like I love playing it, but I also feel like yeah, Stacy, it's the most important. But it
This
just
is the foundation.
yeah, like as a woman, sometimes you just want to be like, I'm here, like I'm in charge, like I'm the strong one that everyone's resting on, and like you don't get to feel like that often. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, totally. You're holding it down. I recently started, I'm not like taking lessons or anything, but I'm doing some like online lessons. So my boyfriend has a kit, like a drum kit in his house.
Cool.
So it's so fun. I love it. Yeah, I don't know. It's not bass, but I mean, it's also like,
So cool.
but percussion. Yeah, so fun. So yeah, you guys just had had your first album release so recently. So now coming up the pandy, what are the plans for Hush? Are you gonna try to get out there and tour or anything like that?
Um, yeah, I don't know about touring right now. We want to play shows in Toronto.
Yeah.
Sorry? Yeah.
No, I
We
mean,
want to,
yeah, it might be a little early.
yeah. Just so you guys, I just got COVID, so
Yeah.
so
Also.
frustrating. Yeah. But yeah, I we did a 5-song EP that we released last summer, and we have enough songs to do another EP now. And so we just need to like we have a studio at home. We could just go in there anytime and record, but something like we really have to have like the alchemy right to like go in there and do the album. And we also both are like so busy playing with other people, so it's like yeah, we just need to like prioritize Hush and go in there and record. And I'm doing a songwriting class right now with Dave Longstreth.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Sorry?
it's with Dave Longstreth of Dirty Projectors.
Oh,
Anybody
wow.
Dirty Projector fan? It's so good. And so the homework last class was like you had to like take all these elements and write a song, and I wrote a whole song in like an hour, which never ever happens. And it's like done. And
Wow.
so yeah, so
That's
I'm waiting.
great. You can do like an album in a day.
It's crazy. Yeah, I know.
It's like, yeah, right.
It's amazing though, because like yeah, like songwriting is for me, it's like such a like parceled up process. Like I always do like a little bit and then I come back to it. I'm like, no, it's change all that. And um
But
yeah,
what did he say? What was the exercise? I'm sure people listening are like, give me the secret.
well, part of it was that it was due at a certain time. So
That's always good. Deadlines are good.
and then it was sort of like you listen to a song, you write down like you listen to a song like 5 times, you write down all the like things you notice in the song, and then you go and write a song based on like at least 2 of those elements. And there's no expectation that it be a complete song either.
Hmm.
It's like it can be part of a song, but um, yeah, you kind of like take the inspiration from what you just heard. So what I wrote was nothing like the song I had listened to, but it was like the catalyst that
Right.
you know?
And you found those elements.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it sounds like you're working on stuff. And I know, obviously, I'm aware that like you're doing so much work with Fab Collab, which has been so amazing. Like, what has that experience been like? Because I know you've been involved in our Women in Song concert series, or I mean festival, whatever. It's hard to define the events, but where you're working in one evening with a bunch of different singers that work in different disciplines. So what has it been like learning such a diverse sort of repertoire of music and doing it all sort of in the evening?
It's super cool. It's like a trust thing because like it's except for the last time we just learned the music like at 2 p.m. and then performed music at 8 p.m. So it's like
Mhm.
have to be tight and we have to be like on it. And that was pretty cool actually. Just like I felt like the antennas as a band developed more trust in each other. But also, yeah, like it's so now I feel like I've worked with all these people that like I wanted to work with and
Mhm.
like have a connection with. And it was like this like boot camp of like, meet this person and play with them and like get to know them. And everyone's been super like cool about the process.
I mean, I've been amazed at what Ventanas has done. Like, I wonder if like there's some people that would understand it, but just seeing the show, you're like, oh yeah, of course, they just can play like the music of like four completely random people, and like you can play all their songs. It's like pretty amazing. And
Yeah.
like the work of like the musical director of the show is like putting together all the music, and then yeah, the flexibility of all the musicians. I don't know, it's pretty. And I know also that I don't know if it was through that, but that you're involved in a project with Terra Monica now, which is like all musicians that have and performers that have worked with Fab Collab, which is really cool.
Yeah.
What is the project called? Is it just her name or is it?
Yeah, it's just her name. Yeah, I met her through Fab Collab. Like, actually,
Hmm,
she asked me to be in her band at the last Women in Song at Crooner Hall,
amazing.
and I was like, "Can I be your MD?" Because I just love. I realized that I really want to be in that role more. Um,
The
so
musical director, sort of just being the person organizing it all.
yeah, yeah, I really want
Right.
to more often, and I'll be doing that with Fab Collab in the summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tara, it's her name, I guess, Tara Maneka, and she wanted an all-woman band. And it's so funny because we were like trying to put it together, and it was like there's certain instruments that you're like, who plays this?
Totally.
Like who's a female who can play like um drums and like do kind of Iraqi stuff or like I mean if anyone knows anyone who's watching, like let me know. It's so yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine if you like, and especially like if someone's can't make the show and they need to sub out. It's like who can sub for Nakme?
Who else can do it? Yeah. For Nagme.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
it's yeah. So it's like quite a commitment actually to make an all-female band in a city like Toronto, which is huge and has so many musicians. It's still like a challenge, and
You know, myself and Tamar are always like all women flamenco band. And actually, just
oh,
the person coming right now, Pilar is going to be a guest in 2 weeks, and she plays guitar. She plays classical guitar. She's from Spain, so we're going to be speaking with her in a couple weeks. So we do have a guitarist here. But yeah, it's like very tricky sometimes, and then it really makes you think. You're like, why? Especially in those instruments, like Nagame is a percussionist, and yeah, finding the percussionist.
yeah,
Which is
percussion.
why I really have to start working on the kit.
Do it, do it, do it. In a year, you'll be ready.
It's never too late.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, like bass, guitar, drums. I find that those ones are the hardest to find females, and I really think like maybe like 15 years younger than us, those people, the gender parity is like a lot
Yeah.
more equal. So I do think it's changing, and it's like there's more encouragement for women to be in like backing instruments. Um,
Mhm.
but it's like funny because you look at history and like even like I found out that like in Mozart's time, like women weren't supposed to play like violin or flute because your arm was up. and that was too like,
Oh my God. Provocative.
yeah,
This is doing it for you.
like you could see my armpits.
Scandalous. Well, it's good that things are changing, and that's amazing. Like, you guys had your first concert just last week, right?
Hmm.
That's fantastic. And I know you also have a big show this Friday.
Yeah,
You're like, do I?
I, I have shows before that, so I'm like, what? Oh yeah,
Oh, really? Okay. What else? Well, what else do you have going on this week? Tell us.
quite the week. So yeah, Tara Monica and I are playing at So Far Sounds. I
Oh,
think it's
wonderful.
a private, like if you register,
Mhm.
I guess the location. So that's Wednesday night at 8, and then Wednesday night at 9:15. Hope I get there on time. I'm playing with
Yeah. Right.
Alini Basement 254.
2 by 4, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's cool. Wait, so that's on Wednesday?
Yeah.
I'm writing this down. I've been like, through the whole pandemic being like, I'm like, I miss going to music. I'm like not going to shows. And then like now it's starting to come out and I'm like, I'm so tired. I'm so busy. So I'm
Yeah,
like, no, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to shows.
I know, right?
You get too used to like being in your house at night.
I know. It's so cozy.
That's cool. 2 gigs. That's gonna be hopefully the secret location is close to college in Lansdowne.
I know. I mean,
All right.
it's all, but yeah, so yeah, it's like 10-minute drive, so that's good. So Tara, and then Friday I'm playing the Ukrainian benefit concert at Opera House. Uh-oh, just cut out. Hello?
Yeah. So yeah, this Friday. Sorry, you're a little bit choppy right now, but I'm just gonna start talking. On
Mhm.
Friday, Jess is playing in a benefit, and a bunch of different people that we know are helping to organize a benefit at the Opera House, and it's called, oh my God, what's it called? With Ukraine. And it features just like a huge slate of different sort of Ukrainian and Polish bands, but then also different world music bands. I know that Misha Broger Grossman is going to be making an appearance, and the bassist Jim Cregan from. I just got to drop all like the celebrity names. You got to do from Bare Naked Ladies, and Ventanas will be playing. And are you playing with Ventanas or are you playing with other groups as well that day?
Yeah, Ventanas is also gonna, so we're playing and then we're backing up Nastasia Y, who I think is on here,
Yeah,
and
amazing.
backing up Misha Bruger Gossman as well.
Cool.
Uh, yeah, so that's gonna be a super cool. And then
Yeah,
Sunday
everybody come. It's gonna be exciting, I think.
gonna be amazing. And then I'll be at Drome on Sunday night with Majd Sukar, who's a Syrian,
Oh,
and like, yeah, I'm the female in the band. So they were like,
cool.
we should have a woman play with us. So there you go. It's working.
Well, that's a lot of gigs. I'm really glad that you really. I hope you didn't have to miss too much for being sick, because it sounds like you really got COVID right in the pocket there of like when you didn't maybe have too much to do.
It was like the week it was exactly the week that stuff was starting. So
Right.
I did miss one rehearsal and one gig, but like I was like, why didn't I get it in the lockdown when nothing was
Yeah,
happening?
no, so maybe because you were in a lockdown.
Yeah, that's true. And I started seeing people.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we're all living with and figuring out. Oh yeah, and Tamar says also Nikki Lawrence. Is Nikki Lawrence playing in,
Like,
in the show? Oh, okay, interesting. Yes, Tamar says yes. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
yeah,
Wow. Okay, great. Um, well, I didn't prepare you for this. So you can definitely say no if you're unprepared. But usually this interview has been a little bit unorthodox just because with life and with everything we had to move around a little bit. But Would you, by any chance, be willing to play something, or would that require like a huge amount of like preparation and
No, I can just go grab
whatever you like? Because it's like we talk to all these different musicians and people that do all these amazing things, but then we talk about it and we always think it's nice to just have like a minute at the end when we get to actually like see what they do. So
Sure.
that would be really wonderful.
Uh,
Sorry that I didn't for that.
that's okay.
You go run and I'll just talk.
Okay, I'll grab my violin.
Fantastic. So while Jess is grabbing her violin, I will tell you that we actually have this month in March. We're having all musicians on Curtain Call. So we have Jess today, and then we have Caroline Plante, who is a flamenco guitarist from Montreal, who is an incredible flamenco guitarist who works all over Canada and Spain and probably a bunch of other countries that I'm not saying. She's really incredible, and it's also really wonderful to be able to speak with a woman flamenco guitarist. And then the week after that is Nagme Faramand, who is a percussionist from Iran, who is in Tara Monika's band, as Jess was just talking about, and plays in many, many groups. We'll be playing actually in our show coming up, which I should have mentioned, on March 27th. We're having another Women in Song. It's called La Vuelta, which means the return. So kind of like the return to music, the return of spring, whatever you want it to be. Also maybe the return of sort of peace, we're hoping, in the world, because it's a crazy time. So yeah, Nagme will be playing in that, as will Jess, obviously, and a bunch of other amazing artists. So it's March 27th, Women in Song at Lula Lounge. Jess, what will you play for us today?
I'm like, my head's racing. I'm like, what should I play?
Sorry.
Just do an improvisation. There you go.
Fantastic.
Happy International Women's Day and Indigenous Women's Day, and yeah, here's something for peace.
That was beautiful. It's incredible that that's just like your improv. That you're like, and now. I mean, that's incredible.
Thank you.
It's so wonderful to hear you play, and also just to have like seen you just like develop into all of these different you know, these different facets of yourself as an artist. It's so cool.
Thank you so much.
Um, yeah, so thanks so much for being a part of Fab Collab in so many ways. And yeah, Jess is also like part of our team organizing a lot of different things. She's going to be the musical director for the next Women in Song in the summer at Guild Park. So we know it's going to be a banger. It's going to be fun. I can't wait for that to see what we put together for that. Um, where can people find you online if they want to keep an eye out for your gigs and your music?
Definitely Instagram is the place I update everything the most. So you can follow me here. My name is on the top there. And my other band, Hush, our Instagram is Hush the Band. And I do have websites. I don't update them very often. But you can, my website is just my name, jessicadeutsch.com. Yeah, and I have a lot of stuff coming up, which is really exciting. And this month and next month, it's like all backing up almost exclusively women, besides Majd, who's on. But yeah, it's kind of cool, like to come back into gigs and to be backing up like a ton of really talented people.
Yeah, I'm like maybe that could be that's like it seems like this project is just one example of like a new project that's come about during the pandemic that's really like driven by a lot of women and men and also like really focused on presenting women. So yay, awesome. Well, very excited to see you this Friday. And if people want to check out Jess and go to any of her gigs this week or in the future, check her out on Instagram. It's in the chat there. And yeah, we look forward to having Caroline Plante next week right here, or actually not next week, this Thursday at noon. So please tune back in then. And thank you so much, Jess, for joining us here on Curtain Call today.
Thanks so much for having me. Nice to see you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.